Right then, buckle up, Britain, because the queen of the political arena, Fiona Bruce, just got accused of running a rig game. We're diving into a BBC question time clash that had more heat than a dodgy curry on a Friday night, and the temperature gauge went through the roof the moment Zia Yusuf of Reform UK opened his mouth. The topic? Immigration. The setup? A studio audience that seemed to be living on an entirely different planet to the rest of the country. And the punchline? Yusuf didn't just disagree with them. He pointed at the fourth wall, looked straight down the barrel of the camera, and told Fiona Bruce, in a stunning 8-word drop, that our audience was a statistical fraud. Now, for a show built on the premise of representing the nation that is a nuclear truth bomb, we're talking full-blown, institutional shade being thrown at the very heart of the establishment. This is UK Secrets, and we're here to unpack exactly why Starmer should be furious, and why this audacious accusation might just be the most accurate thing said on the BBC all year. Speaking of a rogues gallery, let's meet the players who walked onto the stage in Shrewsbury to face the music. The panel was a usual circus. Chief Secretary to the Treasury, James Murray, trying to defend a sinking ship, Nigel Huddleston, a shadow secretary trying to look relevant, the ever-earnest Annabel Denham, the Green Party's philosophical wonder, Zach Polanski, and the man with the flamethrower, Zia Yusuf. The debate kicked off on the thorny issue of integration, specifically Robert Jenrick's controversial observation about seeing no white faces in Handsworth. The audience, as a tradition, largely condemned Jenrick, urging unity and less divisive rhetoric. And here's where the fun starts. Yusuf noted that the people in the room seemed delighted by the UK's current jaw-dropping immigration levels, which is fine. He conceded, if you live in a Westminster bubble where housing and NHS waiting lists are merely abstract concepts. But he didn't stop there. He leaned into the MIC and delivered the fatal blow. This audience is not representative of the country. A perfect, high-stakes moment of political theatre, ripping up the script and calling out the very platform he was on. Fiona Bruce, bless her BBC heart, had to interrupt to defend her audience's mathematical integrity. But honestly, in that moment, who was the real voice of the country? The politely outraged studio, or the man stating a deeply felt, pulling back reality? But don't think Yusuf was letting the ruling establishment off the hook. He just took his flamethrower and pivoted 180 degrees straight into the government benches. Yusuf made it clear he wasn't just there to trade ideological barbs. He was there to prosecute the case of the last decade and a half. He launched into the Conservative Party's epic, self-immolating betrayal. Remember those manifestos? 2010, 2015, 2017, 2019, for solemn pledges to bring net migration down to the tens of thousands. A promise made with all the conviction of a politician asking for your vote. The reality? They left office with that number at over a million. Over the full 14 years of their reign, 6 million people arrived. That's not a policy wobble. That's a spectacular V-sign to the electorate. Yusuf called it what it was, a feeling of being massively betrayed. This isn't just a Reform UK talking point. It's a political fact stamped all over the polling data. The Tories completely botched the biggest issue for the public, and no amount of finger-wagging from the Green Party or a shadow minister can erase a 6 million-person stamp on their legacy. And if you thought immigration only causes issues, wait till you hear the biggest, most convenient lie trotted out to defend it. It's time to talk about the NHS. The classic argument against controlling immigration goes something like this. The NHS would collapse without migrant workers. An audience member, cue the polite applause, made sure to bring this up, praising foreign health and social care workers. Now, Yusuf is not one for sentimentality when a clear fact is available. He countered with a brilliant, brutal statistical rapier. He claimed that the UK could restaff every single doctor and nurse with just a single year's net immigration based on the recent rate. But the real, head-spinning shocker was the evidence he cited from the British Medical Association, BMA. He pointed to figures showing that a massive percentage, let's call it roughly half of homegrown British doctors in their foundation year, cannot secure a job. Think about that. We are importing medical staff, yet we have British-trained doctors loaded with debt staring down the barrel of unemployment. Yusuf called the NHS can't function without immigration line a lie, pointing to the existing employment crisis for doctors in this country. It's a jaw-dropping contradiction, The government claims to be solving a staffing crisis by importing talent, while simultaneously manufacturing an unemployment crisis for the talent we already have. It's like buying a new fire extinguisher while your taps are running wide open. Just when you think the establishment arguments couldn't get any more contorted, in steps the green-tinted spectacle of distraction. As expected, Green Party leader Zach Polanski, whose focus is always on the macrocosmic, often at the expense of the micro-reality, jumped in to pivot. He was angry at the anger, claiming we should be angry at 14 years of Tory austerity that shut down libraries and community centres. His logic was that the lack of integration wasn't about the rate of change, but a deliberate lack of funding to support it. A fair point, but then he took the classic left-wing leap of faith. We need to make sure all politicians are speaking about migration in a positive sense. He blamed the core issues, lack of dentist appointments, council homes, not on the numbers of people, but on the multimillionaires and billionaires who haven't been taxed properly. It's the ultimate deflection, shifting the blame from government policy failure to class warfare. But here's the kicker. Yusuf's final, damning verdict wasn't just for the Tories. He acknowledged Jenrick was a poor champion for the public's concerns, but then he dropped the ultimate accountability hammer. The Tories catastrophically mismanaged his country, and as bad as his government, nobody is more accountable for that than the Tories. This is why Keir Starmer should be furious. The BBC, by showcasing this argument, biased audience or not, is highlighting the catastrophic failure of the last government, the one Starmer is desperate to distance himself from. And Yusuf's main point, that the audience doesn't represent the country, implies the BBC is now so deep in the establishment bubble that it can't even hold a fair debate. That, for an incoming Labour government who will inevitably face the same immigration heat, is a ticking political time bomb. Yusuf's BBC is a fraud accusation, under Starmer's imminent tenure, suddenly becomes a warning shot about media neutrality and the deep disconnect between Westminster and the public. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.